Hello, hello, hello. How is it going? Let me get myself situated here. As always, need to blow up the chat a little bit. Make sure I can see you all over there. See if we can get that organized. How's that look? We've got at least one chatter with us today. We'd love to see it. Hello, hello. Let's see what else we've got going on here. Cool. So to introduce myself real quick, I'm Ryan. Hopefully some of y'all saw me in the opening ceremony not too long ago. Oh, there's our chatters. Hello, hello, hi, hi. The all caps hello, very energetic. I love that. I'm Ryan. I'm the director of events here at Major League Hacking. I was just on the opening ceremony a couple of hours ago, but I always try to do I've started to try to do a very beginner-friendly stream on day one of Global Hack Week. So that's what we're going to be going through and doing here. That's my goal, is to do a really beginner-friendly stream. We are going to be making a kind of like a leaderboard web app. So I basically want to make a website where people can submit new leaderboards, add scores to those leaderboards, and then I also want to add a couple of other features like being able to log in and log out. But I'm kind of just going to get us going here. We'll see how far along in that project we actually get. My big goal today is really for everybody to kind of code along with me. I'm going to try and make this as friendly as possible so that everybody can join in and code with us. So I am going to be using Python for this. I'm going to be using Python and then something called Flask. If you are not familiar with Python or Flask, no worries at all. We'll kind of explain as we go along. And then I'm also going to be trying out VS Code today, which is the application I have open now. I don't normally use VS Code, but I'm going to give it a shot for this stream and see how I like it, just so you all kind of are with me here. So to get us going, I'm going to actually start by getting checked into the event. So let me grab that and show you all how to do this. So if you're following along with me, or if you're watching the VOD later on, you're going to head to this link that I'm going to send in chat right now. And we're just going to hit this register button. And I'm all set. I'm registered for the event here. And I'm realizing I can't log in or I can't check in for some reason. I'm just seeing registered. So let me cheat a little bit and see if I can fix that for everybody at home. So let's go back here and do some settings. And I should be able to check in. Maybe I am checked in and it just doesn't show it. Let's give it a refresh. Give that a shot. There you go. Now I can see it. So if you refresh your page, if you're having the same issue that I was, you should be able to check in, and now we're good to go. Also, hello, hello. I'm going to do my best to keep an eye on chat, but you're all the way over on the side here. So we'll do our best here. All right, so I'm going to start by downloading Python if you don't happen to have that installed. So I'm just going to go to downloads here. And actually, I lied. I'm going to take a pause. I'm going to reopen up VS Code. And I want to just make a new file real quick. And we're just going to call this like notes.md. MD is markdown for those of you who are not familiar. We're just going to save this right here and create this real quick. Cool. And I'm going to take notes on all the different things we do today, because I want to use this for my README later on for this project. So if anyone wants to follow along at home, I want to be able to provide them with all the notes I use today here as well. The check-in was, I started a little too early was the issue there, potentially. Cool. All right, so that is our Python download. I'm going to let everyone at home get that downloaded for whatever their relevant system is. And then I also want to get the VS Code download as well, in case y'all need to, or you want to download VS Code. Definitely not a requirement. I'm going to be giving a shot for this stream. If you'd like to do the same, you're of course welcome to as well. So there's the VS Code, and let me save that in here as well. So we're going to want both of those. Cool. So I'm going to give folks a few minutes to get those downloaded and installed. And while I do that, I'm going to kind of walk through some of, oh, yes, I can zoom 1000%. Thank you. Let's see if I can just increase the text size. Appearance. I can zoom in and out. It does not look like I can just increase text size, but we'll zoom in a little bit there so everybody at home can see. I forget that I use a massive monitor and not everyone else does, so. Great. All right. So I'm going to let you all work on getting those, installed and set up, all that good stuff. And ultimately here, I'm going to make a new project folder for my project here today. You can do this however you want. I'm going to show a different way than I did last time. I'm going to be doing this whole tutorial for Windows, but if you are on a different operating system, I'm sure most of this stuff transfers. The last time I did a tutorial, I showed folks how to do it over command line and terminal. Today, I'm just going to show you the even simpler route for kind of creating a new folder. I have a dev folder on my computer, and I'm just going to make a new folder in here, and I'm going to call this GHW games, and we'll call it live, and we'll pop in here. And this is going to be where we store all of our information for our project. Hello, and thank you everybody for the zoom in stuff. I'll do my best to zoom in the things that I can. There's going to be certain things that I'm not able to zoom in for you, like this file explorer as an example. Once I've created that new folder though, I am just going to open it. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to open up that folder in VS Code. And we do want to save our changes. And it looks like that is now in a different space. So let's go grab our notes again here. See if we can open this up. There we go. Cool. So we've got a nice little space for our project here. And we've got our notes document still. And this is kind of the base where we're going to start from here. Sound good? I'll give everybody in chat a couple of seconds to catch up to me. There is a little bit of delay with streaming, so if you ever have questions or things like that, feel free to stop me. I'll do my best to kind of pace throughout here and give you all time to catch up with any questions you have. Cool. So let's take a look here. All right, so the next thing I want to do, I'm going to get the Python extension for VS Code. This is just going to give us like some text highlighting and some features like that to make VS Code support Python better than it does by default. So I think if you just search for Python here, yeah, there we go. I see this Python installation or Python extension from Microsoft. We're going to install that. Yeah, someone asking what I'm going to be making. I'm going to be making a web app using Python and Flask. I'm going to use a bunch of other tools as well. I'm going to register a GoDaddy Registry domain name. I'm going to use GitHub Actions for deploying this. I'm going to use Azure for hosting. I'm going to check out Auth0 and MongoDB, hopefully. So lots of different tools and things like that. But ultimately, what I want to make is a website where people can log in and log out. They can create new leaderboards for the games they make this week. And they can add scores for those games as well. So kind of like a leaderboard or an unofficial scoreboard for the games you make at Global Hack Week. Well, so you've kind of nailed you've hit the nail on the head here. I think I might have flown too close to the sun with what I want to include here today. So I might just get you started on all these things, but I'll get all of these set up done for you. And that way you can kind of keep working on the project if you'd like to. But I'll get you set up to do what you need to here. All right, so we are good to go with our extension. I'm going to come back up here to the Explorer, and let me get that comment off screen as well. So I'm going to make a new file, and I've worked with Python and Flask before. I'm just going to call this app.py for now, because I know that's what Flask likes by default. I also want to open up a terminal, and we're going to find out how to do that in VS Code. I'm not a VS Code user, but I know you can open up a terminal in line here. There we go. Great. Cool. And this already has me in the correct directory as well, which is handy. Hello. hi to all my friends joining us. So for me here, I'm going to need to install a bunch of stuff here for my project. I'm also going to want to create like if you're familiar with a virtual environment, I'm going to want to create a virtual environment to keep this project kind of separate from the other projects I have going on. And so we're going to go through all those steps here together, but I'm going to take a pause here because this is kind of our initial setup phase done. I want to make sure everyone's got Python installed and has VS Code ready to rock as well. That'll give me a second to drink some water too. And I'll give you all a second to catch up as well. Let's grab this. And as always, we're going to get the Flask getting started. And I can zoom my web browser as well, I'm realizing. Probably will help y'all. Great. We're going to come back to that challenges page in a little bit. I'm going to do my best to keep coming back to zoom in as well. Okay, so I want to, I'll post this link for everybody. Oh, well, let's actually go to the latest version. There you go. I'll post this link for everybody, and I will put it in our notes doc as well. So we have that. We're going to use the Flask quick start. If you're not familiar with Flask, it's a microservice for Python, and it's going to basically make our make a host for us. It'll host a website for us, either locally on our machine, or we can run Flask on a cloud machine to make it accessible for other people. I'm not seeing anybody asking questions, so I'm going to assume folks are with me here, and I'm going to keep trudging along. We'll kind of go from there. So the first thing I want to do is actually create a virtual environment for Python, like I talked about before. You're with me. Oh, thank you. I appreciate the heads up. Now, I do know how to use virtual environments. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm realizing you all can't see this, but basically I want to show you today that you can just follow the kind of documentation you find online and make some really cool projects. And this was a big goal of mine the last time I did a stream as well. And so I'm going to open up virtual environments here, the Python official documentation, and I'm going to use this to actually make my virtual environment here. Again, if you're not familiar with virtual environments or you're unsure what this means, we're just going to create a little space on our computer where we can install extensions and different components for Python rather, and it's not going to impact the other projects we have going on. It's a really good best practice if you're going to be doing multiple projects over the course of the week, like I suspect many of you are. So if I take a look at this Python documentation here, I can see there's a little command I need to run to create a virtual environment. And so we're going to go ahead and follow this command here. So this is doing Python. It's going to use virtual environment, and it's going to create a directory called tutorial env or tutorial environment. For me, I'm going to change the name a little bit. So I'm going to do Python-m VNV virtual environment. And then I'm just going to call mine virtual environment or VNV here again. And I'm going to hit enter on that. And I can now see that made a new, we notice in the environment. Do you want to select it for the workspace folder? Sure. That's a feature I didn't know existed, but we'll give it a shot. So this is our new virtual environment here. We don't need to worry about what's in there. We do need to activate that virtual environment. And again, I'm going to come back to our tutorial, our documentation online, and we're just going to follow what that says here. So for them, it says tutorial environment, scripts activate. For me, I'm just going to use VNV, VENV /scripts /activate. And the way I auto-completed that was just by hitting tab, if anyone is wondering how that popped up on screen. Generally speaking, when you're in PowerShell, terminal, anything like that, you can use tab to auto-complete. So once I hit activate here, cannot be loaded. Running scripts is disabled on this system. Okay. So I'm sure there's a quick way to fix this. I don't use VS Code regularly though. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to close out of VS Code and run it as an admin and see if that fixes it. So let's close all windows here and we'll save my changes. Let's do VS Code and I'm going to run this as an admin and see if that fixes my problem. Great. All right. And then back in here, I'm going to try my command again, scripts, and then activate. And and so that's also not working here. And so I have a friendly hacker here who has found the command for me, which I'm sure you can find on one of these links in here. Yeah, but I'm going to give this a shot. So we're going to try set execution policy, remote signed. Let's give that a shot. And then let's try and activate again. And there we go. We do need to install Flask, and I'm actually going to step through that in the next little section here. I wanted to get our virtual environment set up first before we install Flask. And shout out to my friend here for the PowerShell pro tip. Again, there's going to be a few times today, I suspect, where I'm not going to know how to do stuff. That is totally fine. That is part of the journey. I really like to showcase that it's okay not to know exactly everything going on. I think that's part of the journey with hacking and programming. So now we can see this little highlighted piece over here on the left that shows, I think I can actually, oh, no, my highlight is not working, but you can see that we're in our virtual environment now. It's active. So as one of our hackers just pointed out, we're going to need to install Flask. So I'm going to do pip install, or I actually don't remember what pip stands for, but it's a Python package installer. And so if we do pip install and Flask, it should help us out and install what we need. And if you're unfamiliar with that command or not sure how I figured that out, again, you can just follow the documentation that you find online. I'm sure if we look through this Flask website's documentation, they would tell us how to install it and everything. Now let's see if we can actually go back to the very beginning here. I'm sure they have a full, installing Flask. There's a whole version of it here. Great, so let's go back to that quick start. And I'm going to start with their minimal hello world. I'm just going to start with their very, very, very most basic app. And we're going to grab this, and we're going to paste this into our app.py. This is what our application is going to be. We'll go ahead and save that. And then to actually run this code or run this server, activate our server, we're going to use this command down here. Ours is not called hello, so I think we just need to replace that with app. So if we come down here and we do flask app run, I think that should work. Let's give that a try. Am I doing that right? Yep. App run. Let's see if that works. Great. It looks like it's running. And so what I'm going to do here is actually just control click on this link here, and that should open it up in our browser. And I can see, and let me zoom this in for you all at home as well. I can see we've got a hello world up and running in a few minutes at most here. 15 minutes in, we've got all of our install done. We've got our little hello world running. We are good to go. We can change this, right? So we can come in here and say, hello, global hack week games, and save that file. And see if we refresh, we might need to restart. Bam, and if we give it a refresh, there you go. We can see our updates are live. The set execution command didn't work for you. Make sure that you're running VS Code in admin mode, like right click it and run it as an administrator. I think to use the commands that our fellow hacker shared there, I see a couple of people dealing with that. Make sure you're running in administrator mode. I think you need to be in administrator mode to set the execution policy as well. So perfect. Great. So don't worry at all if you're still dealing with the execution policy and all of that. I promise we're going to have, yes, it needs to be an administrator mode. Perfect. We're going to actually not be too worried about this Hello World application. We're actually going to use a different resource we're actually going to use a different base template to kind of start us off here. The next thing I want to do, though, is I actually want to come back and take a look at some of the challenges here on the Global Hack Week website. And in particular, I know I want to tackle the GoDaddy Registry challenges. So the redeeming a domain and then setting up a website with a custom domain. So I'm going to try and complete both of these here today for everybody at home. And so you can complete them as well, yeah? So I'm going to jump back. We've got our kind of initial setup done. We've got our Flask Hello World working at the very least. I'm going to go back and get back to that in a little bit. But for right now, I want to redeem this domain and everything. So I'm going to open up both these in new tabs. And it looks like they both go to the same spot. They do. So I'm going to just keep one of them. And we got to register a great domain name. Let's try Ryan Loves GHW. Let's see if we can find a good Ryan Loves GHW domain. I like, Ryan, I'm between RyanLovesGHW.tv and RyanLovesGHW.club. I think either would be good. Any preference in our crowd here? Also, y'all got to keep me honest and make sure I'm drinking throughout this, or I'm going to finish and just be unable to talk. Someone said club. We're going to go with it. All right. I'm going to put in some information. Oh, and I realize as well we're zoomed extremely far out again. Let's zoom that in. Cool. My name is Ryan. Last name is Swift. I'm going to use, I'm going to borrow Totally Not Ryan's email here. Bam. Not Ryan at mlh.io. Promo code, we're going to need to find that on the Global Hack Week website, MLH GHW May 79. So let's do that. MLH GHW, I already forgot part of it. May 79, okay. May 79. I agree to the terms of service, and I'm not a robot. Get it now, let's see what happens. Cool, so it's completely free here, I can see, that's awesome. I'm gonna hit continue. And I'm going to say, totally not Ryan. I'm going to generate a password real quick. Let's do it like this. Let's generate a password and paste that in there. Totally not Ryan. Great. Ryan Swift. I am going to pull this off screen for a second so I can fill in my address. Oop, and I'm realizing again, we're zoomed really far out. I'm going to pull this off screen for a second so I can fill in my address details and everything. But I'll be right back, I promise. Great. I don't, I assume no one wants to send me any mail, but I could be wrong about that. I don't know if anyone's in the mood to send me a postcard from wherever they live in the world, but I will keep my address to myself for now. Bam, and my phone number. Great. Hello there. Bam, and create account. Ooh, I must agree to the terms of service. Did I not do that? Let's see here. Maybe it's because I'm zoomed in so much. Oh, there it is. Yes, I did miss a box. It's too zoomed in. Great. And let's try this again. And we're going to go ahead and create account. Hello, hello to my friends who just popped in. Good to see both of you. All right, so let's make sure there's nothing on here. Cool. So I'm going to move this back onto screen for everybody at home. And again, we'll zoom it back in so y'all can see. And so again, I can see I'm getting my domain completely free. And if I just hit continue to billing, there's no charge. I'm not a robot. I do accept the terms and conditions, all that good stuff. Verify your email or phone number and email before continuing. Settings section of the website. Okay, close. So let's do that real quick. Let me open up my email. Let me grab this over here again. So someone asking a question here, what did we do after creating a virtual environment in the quick start? I switched what I was focusing on, and I'm registering a domain name because I want to complete these two challenges, the redeem your domain and to set up a website. These are the two GoDaddy Registry domain challenges today, and I think we can complete them during this, so. Great. Bam, submit. Did that work? Email verified. Okay, cool. So then let's try and continue here again. It looks like our order is processing, so we're in business. Everybody at home, you can follow along and take a sip of water with me too if you'd like. Gotta stay hydrated. All right, so it looks like GDR is loading here. All right. Cool. And we're good to go. We've got our domain. So we've already completed one challenge, which is awesome. And the next thing we're going to do is, or rather not the next thing, but eventually here we want to connect that domain name to what we're building, our Flask app. Right now, our Flask app is just locally deployed, so we're not quite ready for that yet, though. All right. So next up here, what I'd like to do, I want to check out some of the other features I want to add to my application. So I did some prep for the stream, of course, and I already know that I want to use Auth0 to help with logging people in and out. So I'm going to pull up a little tutorial for Auth0 with login and logout. And that's kind of what we're going to use as our base template for getting going for the rest of this workshop as well. So let's go ahead and do that. Let me open up VS Code again. I'm going to open a folder. Actually, I'm going to do a new window first. Perfect. I'll scoot that one off screen. I'm going to open a folder. And I just am going to pull up my notes from my previous run through so that I have that for y'all. Bam. And I saw someone was having trouble switching to admin on Mac. I don't. You might on Mac. You might just need to use sudo as the command. Would be my assumption, like sudo pip install or something like that. I don't code on Mac often enough to tell you though. I'm a Windows fanboy over here, unfortunately for you. So let me take a look at what I've got over here. And let me make this a little bit bigger. Great. And so this is the tutorial I want to use. So let me grab that. I'll send it in this. And yes, that is absolutely correct as well. You don't need to do that set execution policy command. That is a Windows PowerShell command in particular. So you definitely do not need to do that. Can you please explain once again what to do after clicking on the GoDaddy domain challenge? I went through and just picked out a domain name. So for me, I did Ryan Loves Global Hack Week, but you can do whatever domain you want. And you're just going to go through and register that domain. For the most part, it's just entering in your personal info, like your address, your name, that sort of thing. But once you register that domain, we're not doing anything with it right now. Let me pull it up again for you. We're literally we have the domain here. We have ryanlovesghw.club, and we're going to leave this right now, and we're going to come back to it later on. All right. So next thing I want to do is this Auth0 tutorial that I just posted. So let me open that up here. Great. And so Auth0, and I'll zoom this in, of course. I'm going to keep reminding myself. Auth0 is another MLH partner. They are not a partner for Global Hack Week specifically, but I've been seeing lots of hackers use their tooling, and I've been wanting to play around with it myself. So I'm going to take my opportunity and explore with it here. I'm going to log in because I do have an existing account already, and I'm going to use that. I think I did with GitHub. We'll find out together. Perfect. Awesome. Yep, I'm logged in. We're good to go. So what I want to do here is basically follow this tutorial to add Auth0 to our Flask app. I really liked this tutorial from the Auth0 team. I thought it was really well done. There's a lot of really good kind of instructions, and I really enjoy it. If we scroll later down in here, there's actually, let me see if I can find it. There's some interactive pieces like this. I would think that there's probably something here because I've already gone through the tutorial, but I'll show you what we need to do here as we go through. So they have Flask installed. They have a couple of other things here in something called the requirements.txt or requirements.txt. We're just going to copy this code, and we're going to go make this in our project as well. Let's get the right one opened. There we go. So I'm going to make a new file. I'm going to call this requirements.txt. Great. I'm going to paste in the requirements that they have. I'm going to come back out here, and then they just do pip install -r requirements. So let's save this. We're going to hit Control-C to stop running our server here, just like it says. And then I'm going to do pip install requirements.txt, and I need that -r as well. -r. Cool. So I can see that stuff's all getting downloaded and installed. What is Auth? Auth0 is a platform for single sign-on, or like if you've ever seen like one of those windows where it's like connect with Google or Microsoft or GitHub or whoever, they're a service that handles that authentication, that OAuth for you. And so I want to give it a shot here today. All right, cool. I can see that our pip version is not the most up to date, so we'll go ahead and upgrade pip. Why not? While we're at it here, we'll do python-m pip install upgrade pip. Okay. Cool. So we should have all of our requirements installed. So let's go back to our tutorial. Great. We're going to create a .env file in your project directory, and this is going to have a bunch of secrets for us. Now, this has my actual secrets because I'm logged in. I'm going to go back a couple of steps here and go to the dashboard and make a new application. Normally, you shouldn't share your secrets and things like that. These are not production applications, in case that's not clear, so I'm not too worried about it here. Let's go to applications, and I'll zoom that again for y'all. And I'm going to create an application, and I'm going to call this GHW Games Live. And this is going to be a regular web application. And we're going to hit create. And thank you to my friends who are helping debug for other folks in chat. I appreciate y'all. We're going to do Python here. Great. All right. And so they've got like a little sample and everything. Cool. All right. Oh, and this literally links to the exact same tutorial. That's nice. So I'm gonna leave this as is. I'm gonna go back to our tutorial and I'm gonna refresh the page because I just created a new app. I'm gonna come down here, yeah, and we're gonna switch to this one. Cool. So again, I'm gonna copy this code directly, and you're gonna have a different value for this. But I'm gonna go back over to VS Code. I see somebody here who's having issues with their GoDaddy Registry promo code. Can you tell me a little bit more about what's not working, like what the specific error is? Cool. I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to make a new file, and this is going to be called .env, right? And this is just going to store a dot environment is like these are variables that are you want to save. You want to have access to them in your application, but you don't want them to be public. So these secrets up here, like these should not be things that you share with other people. Again, we're doing a tutorial here. I'm not really worried about the security, but it's something to be mindful of in the future. Great. The promo code is invalid. I would check out what Shem-Marie here says as well. Make sure you have the promo code typed correctly. That could be part of the issue. So this is our .env. We don't have an app secret key set yet. So let's go back and take a look here. And so this is telling us to use OpenSSL to create a random string of characters. This app secret is something that Flask apps use to kind of keep your application secure. Again, we're just doing a little tutorial here today. So I'm going to cheat and not use a traditional, like a full security key. You could just type in random numbers. You could use a password generator. There's all sorts of ways to generate this. Don't get scared by that OpenSSL comment there. Again, I'm just going to use Ryan Loves GHW though, and we'll again deal with the consequences of not having a secure app later on. All right. So they talk about setting up a server.py, and they have a little template for it here. And this is what we're going to use as our base for our applications. I'm actually going to copy this code. Whoop, where'd it go? Here you go. I'm going to grab all of this, and I'm going to go back into our VS Code app. And I'm going to paste this into and replace our app.py with it. So let me move our terminal down a little bit. And I'm going to scroll through all of this here. So up top, if you're not familiar with Flask apps, they're importing a bunch of tools and libraries and things like that. Up top here, these are mostly like system level tools, I would say. And then here you've got the Auth0 stuff, .environment, which is what's going to pull out our variables and things like that for us. And then finally Flask itself down here. And then there's a couple of different Flask components in particular that they're going to be using, like redirect, URL for, and I'll show you how these are used throughout the code in a little bit here. So we're going to use this Auth0 code though with no shame whatsoever. If we scroll through this, they're doing some setup and stuff in here. They've got a little registration thing here. And then down below, I'm actually going to start with this route here, the slash. Previously, we just had a hello world here, right? Instead, they're going to return a piece of HTML that we haven't created yet. And then they're going to also provide some extra stuff for that. And this is just going to be for our authentication. All of these routes up above, this log out, this callback, this login, these are all different web pages or different URLs that our users might hit, and they're going to all help us log people in and out of our application. So again, we're just using the templated information here from Auth0, and let's grab their home.html as well. And they put this in templates/home. So we're going to make a new folder. We're going to call it templates. Great. And then we're going to make a new file. And we're going to call this home.html. We're going to paste in this. Cool. We're going to see this. This is good. Welcome, GHW hackers, we'll say, just to be a little bit more unique. Great. And we'll go back to our app. The only other thing I'm going to change, I don't know why, I'd be curious if anyone in chat does know why, they set this app to run on a specific port. They set it to run on 3000. Traditionally, Flask apps run on 5000. I don't know if this is just the preference of the author or what the reasoning is here, but I am going to reset this to 5000 as well, just so that some of the other stuff we do later on follows what you would normally see. So we added the templates. The routes, they have a little explanation for all of those. We're good to go. And so the next thing we're going to do is just run our server like we did before. So if we do Python app.py, I think should work. Yep. And so our server is now running. And so if we click onto one of these links, I'll hit allow access. And so let's alt tab. Oh, here, we can just pop this back open. All right, so we've got our page here. There's a little login button as well, which they created for us in our HTML. And I can show you that really quickly. So you can see they have this little brackets here, and this is actually what's defining a lot of our oh, sorry, I lied to you. This is the login button right here. The brackets is going to be when we log out later on. You'll see that. So any good resources you'd like to recommend for learning Flask from zero to hero? Honestly, like the getting started tutorial is really good for Flask. Like my stream last Global Hack Week, I literally just walked through doing a minimal Flask app. And my honest advice is play around with it. I think that's part of why I enjoy Global Hack Week so much. So this Global Hack Week, I'm trying to incorporate some more stuff and build something a little bit more robust. But honestly, just playing around and like trying to do some simple stuff like adding templates or using HTML and actually displaying some pages. There's all sorts of things you can do to kind of get your feet wet with and explore the tech. So you're missing the PyCache folder. I'm not familiar with that error. Are you getting that when you're trying to run your Python app, or what's the deal there? So I'm going to hit the login button, but I know this is going to fail. So I get a little page from Auth0, and they say something went wrong. And they're saying that there's a callback URL mismatch. And the callback URL mismatch is because we didn't set up all of our settings for our app. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I do see a friend here asking where to find the GoDaddy promo code. You can find that on our challenges website. It's right here, MLH GHW May 79. I'll post this link for you though. I can't post the promo code itself in chat, so you have to grab that. All right, so if we go back to our application here, we're going to go into settings for Global Hack Week Games Live. And if I scroll down here, let's see. So callback URLs and logout URLs. So these are going to be what we're going to need to update here. So right now we're hosting this on localhost. So I'm going to add in this /callback. And so I'm getting callback here from the code itself. I'm skipping a couple of steps here potentially, or a little bit of explanation, but I can see that this route is defined in the application by the Auth0 team. And if you go through their tutorial, they explain this in more depth as well. But I'm just going to add in that /callback. logout URLs, again, I'm going to do the same thing, do /logout, and then my application login URI, I'm just going to do I think it's /login, yeah. And just reading through some of these updates or some of these questions and things like that. Cool. I'm going to go ahead and save my changes here. Maybe I don't need that /login. Maybe it's just this. Let's try that. Same issue. So let's take a look at our tutorial and see what they say to do, which is probably where we should have started in the first place. That's okay. So they just say configure callback and logout URLs. So I wonder if we don't even need this. Let's save changes. Okay, that worked. So if we come back to our application here, give this a refresh. If we try and click login again, so we get an actual login page that Auth0 is handling for us. And we can either log in or sign up rather with a email and password here, or we can continue with GitHub. So we have, a login page here working. Again, we could do some rebranding on this so that it looks like it's our own. But for right now, I'm just going to continue with GitHub. Great. And it's going to ask for my profile and email. That's totally fine. And here you can see my information here. You can see that it has my name, it has my nickname on GitHub, it has my email and a bunch of other information. It has my avatar as well, and it's providing all this information back to our Flask app. It's also using that information live, right? We can see that it's welcoming me specifically. And so we've got working login at least. Let's see if we can log out, and hopefully that works as well. Uh-oh, something went wrong. So let's see if we can figure out what went wrong here. So we've got our logout set. Okay, let's take a look at our VS Code and see if there's anything in here. Okay. Okay, and it's going to redirect us to the logout. Okay. All right, and I wonder if there's I wonder if it's this application login URI or something like that, because I actually don't see where it'd be returning us to the home page, would be my assumption. But let's see if we can't cheat. Let's go back and look at my other app, the one I did for setup, because I believe we had working logout there. Let's just see what this has. And so this does not have the /logout, so I bet you that'll fix it for us. So if we come in here to Games Live, let's scroll down. Bam, we're going to scroll up a little bit. And here we don't need that /logout. We should just need that. Let's go ahead and hit Save Changes. Great. That's going to take up to 30 seconds to work. But if we come back here and do a refresh, we'll log in. Okay, it's got me. And if we log out, hey, there we go. So we've blitzed through a bunch here. We've registered a domain. We've added login and logout with Auth0. We've done a lot already. I know we've got plenty of time left on the clock, but I want to make sure I check in with the team. I know we had a couple of people who are having issues getting stuff set up. Anyone have questions that I can answer? I'll take a little break here and let chat catch up to me. Does not look like we've got anything, which is A-okay. So I'm going to keep pushing forward. That's going to be our goal here. So we've got a working login, logout. We do want to make a leaderboard app though. So we were going to want to store data. And I think that's what I want to tackle next. I want to set up a database somewhere in the cloud, and I want to ultimately use that to to store our data, store our users, store their scores, store any leaderboards that are created. This is being posted, yes. It's going to be hosted, posted. It will be on YouTube and Twitch, so you can follow back along whenever you'd like to. And I'll post the code and everything like that as well at the end if you'd like to grab that as well. So again, I'm going to use another MLH partner who's not strictly active at Global Hack Week, but just another set of folks that I've wanted to use the tech for. And I'm going to go check out MongoDB, and particularly they have something called MongoDB Atlas, which is a cloud native database that I want to check out. So if you're not familiar with MongoDB, they've been around for quite a while. They're actually one of the sponsors at one of the first hackathons I ever went to. So I'm excited to be getting to use them again here. Hey, we've got a Mongo fan in the crowd. You probably are more knowledgeable about Mongo than I am. We'll see if that holds true though. I am going to sign in here. I'm going to use GitHub again and get logged in. And cool, great. And so I'm going to make a new, you can see I made a practice database and everything here. I'm actually going to make a new database just to show you all how to do this. And I'll zoom in again for everybody at home. Sorry about that. All right, so I'm going to hit create. I'm going to make a, let's double check here. I think it is the dedicated that we want. I don't think it's shared or. Here you go. We might want to do serverless, honestly. I don't remember what I had set up before. I just try to look at the pricing. M0, I think, is what we want because it costs nothing. But I'm trying to see if I can select that here. That's M30. No. Ooh, that's not what I meant to click on. I think we do want the serverless, this one here. And let's see if it has. Here's what we can do. We can go back and check out what our other one is set up as. So I might have misspoke if I said Google Cloud at some point earlier on. I want to use Microsoft Azure for hosting later on here. I'm going to host this MongoDB database through MongoDB Atlas so they can do the admin and stuff like that for me. But the actual Flask app is going to be on Azure later on. Oh, and I see a question here from Tokyo Mango, which is a great name, by the way. Kudos, I like that one. It allows me to log in via Google, but there isn't an option to log in via GitHub. Isn't an option to enable that? There is a option to enable that in the Auth0 settings. I suspect that mine was already set that way from me doing testing and prep for this. So let's see here. This is a sandbox general. Can I create a new sandbox? Let's see if we can do that. Create. No. Cluster tier. I wonder if it's because I already have one. I'm not actually sure. And let's go try serverless again here. Let's try Azure. US East is fine. Okay. Okay. And let's just try GHW Games Live. And let's create an instance here. Correct, MongoDB is a non-relational database, but does anyone want to explain what that means? I'd be curious if anyone in the crowd has an answer for that. I can go through and explain as well. And so this is going to cost money even for the serverless. So let's go back up top here. Let's delete our existing M0 and create a new one just so y'all can see what I'm doing. I want to show you that you can do this totally for free. So I'm going to assume I can terminate this. Let's games. Let's see. Great. And we'll give this a refresh. It's still being deleted, but I'm going to create again. And I'm not seeing it there still, but it's still stopping our existing servers. So that might be the reason why. Maybe new project. So I see we have a hacker here saying a no SQL database, cross-platform document-oriented database. So the way I think about this, and I don't think I actually said this caveat at the very start of start of the stream here, but I'm not a full-time developer. I've never had a job as a full-time developer either. And so I do go to a ton of hackathons. I play around with code quite a bit. I write scripts and things like that fairly regularly, but there's going to be things that I'm like, you should take with a grain of salt when I explain them. But I really think of Mongo as basically, like they're saying here, a NoSQL database. So it's not like a spreadsheet where you have tables with columns and rows on it. It's going to be more like a JSON object. So it's going to be this big block that has a bunch of different components in it or not in it. And you basically collect lots of those and you're able to query through them and search through them. So less of a matrix with columns and rows and more of a kind of a big block of structured text is the way I like to think about it. So I'm going to build a database here, M0. There we go. We're in business team. So which is the best, DynamoDB, CassandraDB, or MongoDB? I got to be honest with you here. I actually have never used Dynamo or Cassandra, so I couldn't tell you honestly. MLH does partner with MongoDB, and so any advice I give you here is going to have to come with a grain of salt. I've really liked Mongo and I've used it on personal projects, but I don't develop full time and probably couldn't give you an answer for that. I also think it's probably worth pointing out that there's typically not a best DB like globally. It's going to depend on the situation and what you're trying to achieve. So I'm going to select M0 here. I'm going to do Azure. We're going to do US East because I'm on the East Coast. And then I'm going to name this cluster GHW Games Live. Why not? And we'll go ahead and create. And this is completely free, this cluster and everything. So we should be good to go. I'm going to call my username here Ryan Swift. And then this password, again, this is something you probably don't want to be public. I'm doing this for the sake of a stream. So I will change and cycle through all this stuff and cancel it later on. But you can see here that this auto generates a password for us. We're going to go ahead and create user. We are going to set this up for our local environment for right now. And then I can see that Mongo already has enabled it from our current IP address, so that I can access this locally. I chose an M0 lemon codes, if that's what you're looking for. If that's not the question you're trying to ask there, let me know and I'll help you out. I'm going to hit finish and close though. I'm not going to do the quick start here. I'm just going to hit go to database. I see somebody here facing issues with the clicking on login. Can you tell us what the error that you're facing is? Are you just getting that kind of error page that I had? You might want to make sure that I can actually crack open Auth0 real quick. Oh, actually, I bet you I know what is causing you problems. I'd be willing to bet. That's not what I wanted to do. Auth0. And then log in here. Okay. Let's see. So for your error, make sure, let's go give you two quick things to check for my friend who's struggling. If you go to your application, make sure that you have this callback URL set. And I'll just try and zoom that in even further for you. So make sure you have your callback set, and then make sure you have your log out set. So there's one, there's your log out. And then in your web browser as well, there's actually going to be a difference if you go to, so right now I'm using 1.127.0.0.1 port 5000, right? And that's going to bring us to this page. If I change this, I can actually use localhost instead, localhost. And that's going to bring up the same website, but it's a different URL. And if I hit login here, I actually don't think it'll work. Yeah, so it bugs out because localhost itself is not in our list of allowed callbacks and logouts. And so it's something to be mindful of too. Make sure you're on the correct URL. Great. I'm going to pop back here. I'm going to get back to MongoDB here because we are slowly running out of time here. We've got just over an hour left. I want to make sure we get through some stuff. So we've got our cluster, or rather our database here ready to rock. We are going to use this here. The next thing I want to do, though, is actually pop back to our code. And I want to pop open my notes from my prep. Okay. All right, and we're going to go to this, and here we go. Let me get that full screen for myself as well. So let's go back to you all so I can see you again. Here's a good shout out. Yes. All right, so I'm going to close down our server by hitting Control C again. I'm down in the terminal here, and to use MongoDB, we're going to use something called Flask PyMongo, and that's going to help us interact with our database, add data to it, retrieve data from it, all of that good stuff. I'm going to do this via pip install, just like we did earlier on. So I'm going to do pip install. I think it's, is it just PyMongo? Whew. All right, we got it right. And it might also be Flask PyMongo as well. Let me double check here for everybody at home. I think it's just PyMongo is all we need there. And we'll find out together if not. So we'll all see shortly here. We come back to all of you. Awesome. So once we've got that installed, I'm going to come up top here, and maybe right after our auth0 stuff, I'm going to say from Flask PyMongo, import PyMongo. Let's see if that saves. And this is giving me a little warning, so that makes me nervous. How do I check what that warning is? Any VS Code users in chat? How do I see what this issue is? There you go. So it's not installed. So let's come back down here and do pip install Flask PyMongo would be my guess. There you go. And so it was both pip install Flask PyMongo and pip install PyMongo both. And that got rid of our little underline as well. So we should be good to go there. All right. So the next thing we have here is going to be some setup for MongoDB. And I'm going to grab this and paste it over for everybody, and then I'll explain it. So let's come down here. So we're going to set up this shortcut here, basically, this variable called Mongo, and we're going to use PyMongo to connect. We have our app here. This is our Flask application, and then we need to set a environment variable called the Mongo URI, and this is going to, how we actually connect to our database. So I'm going to come back into our .env, and we're going to add in our Python or our Mongo URI here, and that should get us connected over. So let me go ahead and get that for everybody. So the way to find your URI is if you're going to come back to MongoDB Atlas, we're going to hit connect here. And then I think we should be able to do, I think this, yes. And this is not quite what I'm looking for here. There's a version of this that has your username and password embedded in it. That's what I actually want to use. I saw a question. Oh, I missed a question here from someone on YouTube. Hey, I'm a first-year CS, and I'm trying different things like web dev, Android development. Can you please tell me the mistakes which I should avoid, which are generally made by beginners? I would say don't worry about mistakes. I don't know if that's a little bit of a non-answer for your question, but I think people get really caught up on like doing things the right way, and I think honestly, it's okay to make mistakes and just kind of learn as you go. I think that's been a really effective way for me to learn, is to like learn by making mistakes and doing things incorrectly and gaining from that and kind of moving on from it as well. So I would say don't worry about it too much. Like explore, have fun, build stuff that you think is cool. And like that's the best way to do it. So let us see if we can't find the, this is what I wanted. So this is the connection code that we want right here. And the way I got to that is, again, just hitting connect. And then I'm going to do drivers. And if I scroll down here, I'm going to just find this string. And I do need to replace the password. So just to show you all how to do that. Did I save my password anywhere? I might have forgotten to save my password during during this live stream, which would be quite funny. Let's see if we can find it. Did I put in my notes or anything like that? Let's see. It does not look like it. Did we save it in our clipboard? Yeah, we did. We saved it in our clipboard. We got saved there. So we'll come back here. We'll go to our password, and we'll paste in that password right here. I hope that's the right one. I'm fairly certain that it is. I see a couple of people telling me how to find the connection I was looking for. Thank you both. I appreciate y'all. Bam. All right. So now that we've got that done, I'm going to actually create a new route for us. This is going to be our next step here. And so we're going to actually try to add something to our database that we created, right? And so I'm going to scroll down way to the bottom of our app here, right after this kind of this main index route here. I'm going to do something called maybe app.route, and then we'll call this like add user or something like that for now. And I just want to test that I'm able to actually add something to our database. That's really what I'm trying to do here. How do you get that clipboard thing? I don't know if it's enabled by default, but if you're on Windows, if you do the Windows key plus V, so instead of Command V, you're doing Windows V, it has their little clipboard here, and it has your like history and stuff like that in it. Very handy. I use it all the time. I don't know if it's on by default or not. So I'm going to make this new route called add user. And just like I see in this code above, ooh, that's not the code I was looking for. In the code I see here, right, I can see this session variable has the user. And so I want to try and leverage that here, right? The other thing I'm really curious about is if I come into this HTML, I can see if session, it's going to show something different. And then if there's no session, it's going to return just the generic login page. So I'm going to try and copy that styling. So I'm going to do if session, and then I'm going to say this is going to be like add a user to our database. Like if they're logged in, add them to our database. And then else, right, we're going to return something else here for folks. We're going to do, what do we want to do? We'll just do return no user logged in. How's that? Simple, plain to the point. So let's take a look at this again here. And you'll figure it out with the clipboard. Great. So I'm going to do, and down here I want to return, we'll say like user added to MongoDB, something like that. So I do need to write the code for actually connecting to Mongo here. The way I'm going to do this, Mongo is really nice because you don't need to have a predefined, like I don't need to create a table for my users because it's non-relational. I can just kind of do this on the fly. So we can do something like users equals, and then we can actually come in and just use our Mongo connection. So we set this Mongo connection up top right here, right? And we can come down here and we can say mongo.db. The .db is just like the common nomenclature for connecting with PyMongo, right? And then here I'm going to create a new table called or not table. I'm going to like create a space or collection called users, right? And then I'm going to do users dots, and here I want to basically add that session user to my database. So I'm going to use users dot, I think it's insert or insert one. It's insert one. And here I'm going to use this code up here. I want to grab that user and add them to our database. And then finally, I'm going to return user added to MongoDB. Let's go ahead and save that. Great, no questions. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to run our server again. Python app.py. Cool, and I'm going to open up this. So I'm going to go ahead and hit login so that I have an active session. Cool, I can see all of my data here. And this data that this is displaying, is just the session.user or session.getUser rather. And you know, they've done some JSON formatting on it here to make it look nice, right? And so I'm going to try and save this to our Mongo database by just going to /add_user. And we had an internal server error, so let's go see. There's no attribute users. Let's see if we can figure out what we did wrong here. Did I make a silly mistake somewhere is my first question. Okay, so users, MongoDB. Object has no attribute users. Maybe our connection is incorrect. That'd be my first guess here. And let me check chat before I'm going to come back to scores in a second. Scores and leaderboards are going to be later on here. I want to store the users because I know I'm going to be storing, I want to store who the scores and things like that are for. So I want to make sure I have the user data. And the other thing I want to do here in particular is I want to make sure that my connection to MongoDB is working is the other thing I'm trying to accomplish here. So I've got something that's not working here, and this is not something I ran into when I was doing my prep. So I want to see if I can figure out what my issue is. Add a command to add a user. That is what I'm doing here, though, right? This insert one should be adding a user for my friend who's trying to help here. Well, let's see if we can't find the Mongo tutorial I was using the other day. And apologies for the technical difficulties here, friends. As part of the journey, let's see if we can get this to work. Let's see if I have other Mongo code in here anywhere. Mongo. Flask. Here we go. And let me open this so you all can see it as well. So this is one of the tutorials I looked at the other day for Python, Mongo, and Flask. From Mark here, let's see if we can realize if we did something silly. His application is a little bit more robust than mine. So let's see if there's something in here that jumps out to us. He defines his models. So here he's going to create a new one. Yep. And he's just using insert one here as well. Okay. I think you had to add a database name in the Mongo URL. I might not have. That might be what our issue is. Let's go take a look and see if we can figure that out. Let's take another look at our environment variable here. That looks like it's got what it needs, right? It's super zoomed in, so I'm just trying to see. Let me see if I have my what my environment variable was at home. I don't know that I do. Bam. But I think it's our Mongo after the slash before the. I don't think you need to add anything here. Am I crazy? So, Sophia, if you know what I'm supposed to be adding, I would love the assist. let's see if we can take a look at this one here. Connect, drivers, view full code sample, maybe? Nah, I think this is correct, right? Because this is their full URL they provide here. The password could be wrong. I don't actually know how to reset the password on one of those. Because if we remember correctly, you add a database name. Let's see here. I am worried about that password because I was a dummy and did not save it in real time. You're the only user at the moment in your code. Yes, yeah. There's no DBs or collections though. I don't think I need to set one either. Let us, just in the interest of making sure that it's not that password, I'm going to go ahead and cheat a little, and I'm going to try and terminate this again. Cluster name, GHW games live. I don't think this is the issue, but I do want to try it as a debugging step. And while I do that, I want to try and see if I can't find at the same time. Let me go and grab something from this. Bam. Come back here. No, I don't have it saved there either. All right, let's build our DB again. We'll remember to save our password this time. That feels like a good idea. We'll say that we're in US East once more, and we're going to name this GHW Games Live. Create. Username and password looks great. So let's do GHW, and password can just be auto-generated. And we're going to copy that, and we're going to save it right away this time, so we don't repeat our own mistakes. Okay. Create. Oh, I wonder if I could have edited that user. Let's remove it. We'll just use this GHW one. We're going to do local environment. We already have our IP address. We're good to go. I don't think we need the quick start. This is going to take a minute to get set up, but again, here we're going to go Python, PyMango, yep. Cool, we're going to grab this precisely, and we'll replace that password as well. And the password here is going to be this. Let's save that environment variable. Okay. Also connect to your database. You shouldn't, I don't believe I need to do any other connection. If I take a look here, I have a Mongo client set up already. And then we can try this ping as well as something we can give a shot here in a second. Let's see if we can get back to our, here we go. And then let's just do a /add user, and we're still getting the same error. That is a-okay. Let's take a look here. Okay, if we do our connect drivers, switch this to Python. All right, let's give this a shot here. So let us go ahead and make sure that this is working. So we're going to make a new file real quick. I'm going to call yeah, this is fine. I'm going to call this test.py, and we're going to grab all of this, paste it in here. And I do need to replace this password. Bam, and we're gonna place in our password there. Save this, and then we're gonna come down here into our command line, and we're gonna do Python test.py. Let's see if it worked. It did. All right, great. So I wonder if there's an issue with how we're defining our Mongo client then. I wonder if I messed up something here. Let me double check how I had this set up yesterday. Bam. I've got it set up the exact same way here. Is there some sort of silly typo in our variable name in the environment here? No, Mongo URI is the exact same. Huh. I'm now confused though. I appreciate your vote of confidence here, but I'm now confused why our connection's not working on the Flask app. None type object has no attribute users. I'm not sure. Yeah, so I see this comment again here, Sophie, and I didn't have to do this previously. I can actually show you like some other code I had for it. My understanding was that they being like Mongo natively sets this up for you if it doesn't exist already. And so let me just pop this onto screen real fast. So this is exactly what I had previously. Which is very similar, if not identical, to what we have. And this does run, this does work. So I'm confused as to why it's not working here, but I don't know enough to tell you the answer why. I mean, let's give it a shot here. We don't need to enter a username. Like we're using the existing data that is already being provided by Auth0. So if you take a look, let's go back here one. So this whole bracket of information, all of this is the object that we're going to be storing in the database, is what we're trying to do here. Let me double check our imports and everything from PyMongo. Yep. Okay, and let me check here as well. I have the exact same stuff. Yep. Huh. All right, so out of curiosity, let's try, if we go back to Mongo here, database, browse. So we still don't have anything in here. I want to just add my own data, and then we're going to call this like users collection. Create. Let's create this manually here. Okay. And then if we come back into our app, users, one get. I don't think that's going to fix it for us, but oh, that's not what I wanted to run. Let's try this again, and let's see if we can get that to run. So again, we want to just go to /add user, and we're going to get the same error on this in particular. Let's do a little bit of Stack Overflowing and see if that can. Can you please copy paste the code snippet for /add user route in the chat box? Yeah, for sure. Happy to send it along to you. Whoop. There you go. And let me give this error a quick, get out of here. Give this a quick Google. Maybe our friends at Stack Overflow can help us out. Another person. Yeah, exactly. They're talking about the DB name in the URI, but collection object and an insert method. So what do you have to add to your URI? Does anyone know what we have to add to our URI? So I think our friend who was talking about not having the DB listed is correct, but I'm not sure how to actually modify our. Let's go back up here. Let's go to games. Let's connect. What if we just use, let's do this again. And someone was saying that they have to add the DB name in here. I forget who that was. Sophie. And you were saying after username, password, port, and then /DB name. Yeah. Okay, so let's see if we can do that in our environment here. So after / before here. And so the DB that we just created is going to be called browse. It's called users. So let's give that a shot. Bam. And let's come back up to app. Go ahead and restart it just to make, that's not what we want to do. Go ahead and restart it to see if that helps us out. Great. We still have an active session, and let's do /add user. Hey, there we go. I should have listened to you sooner. That is my bad. That's really interesting to me, though, because I did not need to do that previously. So I'm wondering what setting or setup I have different on my home computer. But let's make sure that it actually got added here. So I can see it created a new users, and we can see we do have all that object info from Ryan, which is awesome. So great. The other option we have here is that I just forgot to note down that I did this in my notes from last time, which is certainly possible. So big shout out to Sophie for the save there. Absolute hero. We love to see it. And you know, the joys of coding. We're learning real problems here, or seeing real problems and you know, fixing them. So let us clean this up slightly. Let's actually delete this here. Users. Let's drop that. Great. And so let's try and see if we can do it. I'm out of curiosity for myself mostly at this point. I'm now curious if we can just do / like GHW or games live. And let's see if that works. I'm now curious. So if we come back here, I want to go back to our home page, and I'm going to try and go to /add user again. And it says user added. So did that create our database for us automatically? Yes, okay, perfect. Yeah, and so Sophie just confirmed. I think what probably happened was I found this debugging step yesterday or the day before when I was practicing, and then forgot to include it in my notes. But I really don't remember doing that, so I'm curious on that one. But either way, we've now got a GHW Games Live database. We have a users database, which has this information from Auth0. So we're good to go there. The next thing I want to do, and we spent more time on that than I expected. I do want to make sure I leave plenty of time to submit to dev posts and everything. I want to actually add some forms like Marie was asking about earlier. I want to add some forms so people can actually create leaderboards and things like that as well. To do that, I'm going to use Flask WTF, which is a forms tool. We'll just look up some documentation on that as well. Bam. And we'll zoom this in for everybody at home. All right. And let's see if they've got like a little quick start, maybe. Yeah, quick start right here. Okay, so they've got some info for us here, give some validation and things like that. Okay, let's pop back up and do the installation there real quick. It's just install Flask WTF. Great. So we'll come back here. We're going to close out of our server. We're going to do a pip install Flask WTF. Looks like it's good to go now. We'll come back here and we'll read through our quick start. Looks like we need to add some imports up here. Then we're going to define a class that's going to function as part of our form. And then we're going to use that in our HTML later on, it looks like. Okay. Awesome. For errors. Okay, fine. All right, great. So let's copy this here and add that to our app up top. We're going to just import all this stuff that we need. We might need more than this, but that's okay for right now. Next thing I'm going to do is actually cheat and use my stuff from yesterday. All right, so okay. And so I'm going to make a new route again here. I'm going to make a @app.route. We're going to do add a leaderboard. That's going to be our next one here. And for this, we're actually going to define two different methods for it. And the reason we do this is because we're going to have a form on here that's actually going to submit data to us. So we need to add a post as well in here. Then we're going to do define add leaderboard. Bam. Great. And then we're going to make we need to make that form class though, this. So let's see how I did that previously, and we'll use that. Great. Okay. So let me minimize that. Oh, yes, I absolutely can share the link. Sorry about that. Thank you, Lemon. Great. So I want to make this class. In a lot of Python Flask apps, there are, you don't throw everything in one file, as it turns out. We are kind of going fast and loose today with some of the rules, but I will make a new Python file for this. I'm going to call it, that's not what we wanted to do. Make a new file for this. I'm going to call this forms.py. This stuff here, let's grab this. I'm actually going to import all this into this forms instead. And then I'm going to define my class. And to do that, I'm just going to copy paste this existing class. I'm going to make some changes to it. Let me get this one back up, and let me grab it you all as well. Cool. And make sure I can see chat as well. The joys of trying to manage multiple windows during during one of these streams. So we're going to rename this. So we're going to call this our leaderboard form, where people can submit new leaderboards. They're going to have a string field that is a name, and you are going to be required to submit a name. And then I also want to add a submit to this, which we're going to need to import up above. So we're going to do submit field, and this is going to be submit here, and string, and we need to import submit as well. Submit field rather. Great. Then in our app, we're going to want to make sure that we actually import this form that we're writing here, this class that we're writing. So let's minimize this and go back to our app as well. All right, so then we're going to say from forms, our new Python file, we're going to import the leaderboard form, and that's going to autocomplete for us, which is really nice. I'm going to save this, scroll down, and finish writing our leaderboard, our add leaderboard function here. Great. So again, here, I'm just going to take a look at this documentation, and validating forms here, I can see they have a route defined here. That's very similar to what I want to do. They're submitting something. And so on this one, they're going to define the form on that class. And then if it validates on submit, they're going to do something. Otherwise, and then they're always going to return some sort of template as well. So we're going to follow that pretty precisely here. So if we come back to our application, and let me actually pop that off screen so I can reference it as well while we're doing this. Great. So we're going to do form equals, in our case, it's going to be the leaderboard form, right? We're going to do like that. If form is submitted, great. Then we're going to do data is going to be equal to our request. This is what the form is actually going to send back. And I can see I've got a little squiggly under request. It's not defined. So I think I need to just add that to our list of things we're importing from Flask. Yes. So request. Great. There you go. We got rid of our little squiggly. And so I'm going to do something very similar to what I did up here with users. So I'm going to say like leaderboard equals, and again, I'm going to say mongo.db and I'm going to make a new collection called leaderboards, right? And I should call this leaderboards with an S as well, probably. Great. And then I'm going to do insert one, and I'm going to do some of the form data as well. So leaderboards.insert one. And here I had this session user. For this, I want to basically use that Flask form information instead. Right now, all it is a name, though. That's totally fine for the sake of our our little demo here. We're not worried too much about anything else. This is structured. This session was already structured as JSON, and Mongo actually doesn't use JSON directly, but if you provide it JSON, it changes it to BSON or whatever the MongoDB version is. So here, what we're going to do is just make sure that we provide this with some JSON so that it knows how to add it to our collection. So I'm going to say name, and then I'm going to provide it with the form data. So data, right? This is going to be from right here. We're going to do data.get, and then we want to get the name from our leaderboard form. So we're going to do .get name here. Great. And in this form later on, if we wanted to add like the user who submitted it or something like that, we can add this in here and then pull it back and save it as part of our leaderboards going forward. So this looks like it should be fine. The last thing I need to do is make sure that there's actually a form to render this, or rather some HTML to actually render this form. So we're going to do render template. This is a built-in Flask functionality that we use in a couple of other spots. Like you can see it right here, rendering our home, right? And so in this case, we're going to make a new piece of HTML, a new file that's going to be for leaderboards specifically. So I'm going to do add leaderboard.html, which is probably not the world's best naming convention. That's all right. But then we also need to pass it our form as well. So we're going to do that as well. So this leaderboard or add leaderboard.html does not exist yet. Oh, this question here. Sorry, I like stopped talking to read. I'm sorry, I'm running a little bit behind. No worries at all. We're going through it nice and slow here. No big deal. But we're supposed to be, where are we supposed to call the /add user route? As in, I have created the route, but it is never called since it just logs in. That's it. So right now, I was just really using that as a way to test the functionality. I think normally the way you would do this is like on the user's first sign in, when they first log in, you would do some sort of statement check, maybe like an if else or something like that to actually add them to your MongoDB, add them to your collection, add them to your cluster. I use that /add user route mostly as a testing ground to make sure that I could actually connect to the database. It's not actually a route that we're going to need in our final application in theory. Does that make sense? And let me know if you need me to explain that. The way I was accessing it, though, was I was just typing in /add user at the end of my localhost deployment. So, all right, so let's make this other template here. I'm going to do new file. I'm going to call this add leaderboard.html. And I'm going to cheat and just copy from this. And I'm going to paste it in here. And instead of auth0 example, let's make our title GHW games. And we'll make that change in both spots. Why not? Great. And here for our, and let me pull that off screen. Perfect. Glad it makes more sense. I'm glad you got that there. I think my big goal for today, just given the number of different things I wanted to play around with and integrate, is like less about the fully functioning app and more about making sure that you all can see like me struggle through things and try to figure stuff out, because I think that's like often very intimidating for folks. I think a lot of people like expect to have all this knowledge right from the get-go, and I like to try and showcase that that's not the case. So here for our HTML, I'm going to reference, let me pull this on screen for you all again. So I'm going to reference what they have. And so here's the little HTML that they have for this. You can see a couple, We're not using the CSRF token in this case, but I can see they're just making a form using HTML. They're importing some stuff here. Okay, name label, and that is this here. Okay. This hidden tag is if your form has multiple hidden fields, you can render them in. Okay, got it. We don't have any hidden tags on ours, so we should be able to use this pretty directly. Again, I'm going to pull this off screen so I can reference it while I'm right in here. Let's see here. I have a little bit of experience with Flask, but I've never tried connecting databases or have the auth thingy. So it's really cool that I got to learn that today, to be honest. Awesome. I'm glad to hear it. That makes my day. That is kind of my goal here is like I think, again, like one of my biggest hopes for Global Hack Week always is that people get to explore and check out new things. And like if I can get you to like connect and try those things here, like hopefully you'll get to use them in some more full hacks later on down the road. I think with only 2 hours, there's only so far we're going to get, but I'm glad you're getting to explore some stuff. So here, I'm going to just get rid of all this stuff from our login. And instead, I'm going to write our form. So let's do like they have here. I'm going to do form action equals nothing. Then method is going to be post. Cool. I can close that out. I'm just going to make a p tag here to make this somewhat readable. And I need curly braces. Form.name.label. Great. And then I'll do a, this is going to be form.name and then size equals 20. Okay. That all looks good. And then I also need to add a submit, which they don't have in their example, but I'm pretty sure it's just form.submit with the parentheses there. Great, and the form's already closed. We should be good to go on that. It's not going to look pretty, but it should get the job done. All right, so let's take a look here at our actual website again. So if we come back here, and actually I need to start the server would probably be an important step. If it's not already running, it's not. So, that's not what I meant to do, but it's okay. Python app.py, great. And we're going to come back here. And again, we'll just go to our home page to make sure, yep, we're good to go. And then let's do a /add leaderboard. Cool. And again, not the prettiest system in the world, but let's try this. We'll call it our first leaderboard. And if we hit submit, nothing happened, but I think that's actually by design. I didn't have it change anything. But if we come back here and give this a refresh, I'm hoping to see a new collection. Hey, love to see it. And so I can see here our first leaderboard is now a leaderboard in our database. Cool. So you can imagine that we could create a really similar page for our scores, right? That we could have a scores, a score field like we have now, and we could have a drop down where people could select from our existing leaderboards in the database and all that good stuff. You know, there's lots more that we could do with actually writing and creating web pages to make some more of that connectivity here, but we've got a lot of the basic building blocks and components connected at this point. We've done the really tough part of coding, in my opinion, which is like the setup and getting everything kind of working at first. I think now we have a really fun phase where we can do a bunch of creation, and then ultimately there's going to be more debugging and things like that down the road. I do want to make sure we come back to hosting though, because I do want to make sure we're able to get this up and live so we can complete that other Global Hack Week challenge. There's still, let me see if I still have the challenges page open. There's still this set up a website with a custom domain name. I do want to try and tackle this before time runs out, and I also want to leave some time to submit on DevPost. So we're going to try and speed run hosting this on Azure, and we'll see how that goes. So I'm going to go to portal.azure.com, and we're going to try and see if we can't host this real fast. So I'm going to go to portal.azure.com. If you don't have a Azure account already, I'll link hack.mlich.io. I'm pretty sure we have like a little referral link on here. Let's see if we can find Azure on here. Is it up top? It was up top. Copy link. If you don't have a .edu email address, you can just sign up for the free account as well. I know they have a limitation where you need a .edu. I know not every Indian university provides that, but I'm going to create a new resource here. I'm going to do a web app in particular. And I'm going to blitz through this a little bit just because we're tight on time, but I promise I'll answer questions as always. I'm going to make a new resource group. And I'm going to call this GHW Games Live. Okay. And I'm going to call this again GHW Games Live. This is going to be code. This is going to be Python. Linux is fine. US East looks great. Okay. This is the free one. Great. I'm going to hit next. I do want to enable, so this is one of the reasons I've really enjoyed coding with Azure recently, this GitHub Actions integration, and I'm sure you can use this with other services as well, but they like do everything for you, which I've found to be very handy as someone who doesn't code a lot. So it already has my GitHub account here. I'm just going to select my personal organization instead of the MLH one. And then here I'm going to do GHW Games, which is the repository I'm working in. And I'm going to use the main branch, which is the one, again, I'm working on. I didn't actually set up a Git repository for the sake of this demo, I'm realizing, so we should probably do that. But we'll do that in 1 second here. Or maybe I'll just deploy what I had over the weekend because we're kind of speed running here. So we'll do next. Public access is fine. Next, monitoring, let's say okay, that we can't get that. Not worried about any tags. Review and create. That looks totally fine as well. Cool, so deployment is in process for us here. And again, this is actually using the version of this that I kind of prepped with, not the version that I just wrote code for with all of you here today. So we will take a peek at that and see if it gets to deploy. You certainly could do this with the code you wrote today. To make a new Git repository, you would come in here. If you have Git installed, you'd do something like git init. You'd create a repository on GitHub, and you can set, when you create a new repository, they'll give you the commands and things that you need to do. I'll show you that real quick. Just do a new repository. We'll just call this GHW Games Live. Why not? I'll own this. No template here. Live demo for GHW Games. We'll make this public. This git ignore feature is really handy. I love this. If you don't know what a git ignore is, it helps you avoid adding unnecessary files and things like that to your project. And then license, I never remember what I'm supposed to use here, but this is free and open to everyone. Just hit create repository though. Cool. And then from here, if you want to add this, we want to use this. Bam. Come back here, and you're ultimately going to add this as your upstream, which we can Google for add git upstream, I think is what it is. While that is doing that though, the other thing I want to do is just come back and check. We'll do Global Hack Week Games. This is the one I was practicing with the other day. And I'm going to come in and check out the actions. And let's see here. This looks like it's still deploying. And it looks like that is queued. Let's take a look at this one. If it says anything. No. Those are still deploying right now. While those are going though, the thing I really want to focus on is connecting our domain because I've only got like 10 minutes left here before we have to submit. So I want to focus on that, and I will. So I'm going to actually split screen here for everybody at home, and I'm going to go to my pork bun settings here. All right, and that's actually a little bit harder to read. We'll do like this. So for our Global Hack Week Games project here, I'm going to click into this, share the link to your GitHub repo. Yeah, 1000%. I'm just going to link to my. There's two different versions of it here. You can go look through both. The live version is what we did here today. There's the other version has some other stuff I was playing around with and testing in it. So you're welcome to look through that code as well. But they're pretty similar. So great. Where was I? Custom domain. So I want to come back into Azure here, and I want to do custom domain. and I want to add a custom domain. And so this really confused me the first time I went through it, so I want to make sure I call it out for all of you. If you're trying to do a domain provider, you don't need to use the app service domain, which is like Microsoft Azure's domain service. Just hit all other domain services, and then this should all be A-OK. And then the domain itself, we're going to grab from Porkbun and GoDaddy. Bam. And we did Ryan loves GHW.club. Ryan loves GHW.club. And it's going to give us the validation we need right here. So I'm going to actually copy this over to Porkbun, and this is going to be what connects our domain. So we click on DNS here. We need to do an A1, an A type rather. The host is going to be @ and the value here is going to be, we'll just copy that, paste that in. We'll hit add. Already exists. Let's delete these existing ones, perhaps. See if that works now. So that looks like it worked. Great. And then I also need to add in this text record as well. Cool. This is going to be ASU ID, and then I'm going to have this big value here. Oh, I'm an idiot. There we go. And the answer is going to be this, and we're going to just hit add. Great. And so those are both now stored on Porkbun and GoDaddy Registry. So if I hit validate, hopefully that validates. We'll see. Leave it to load. And it can take up to 48 hours for the changes to take effect, which is not surprising with domains. I would be very surprised if that worked right away. Let's just make sure that our domain settings saved. They did. We'll give this one more shot, and then we'll start our dev post submission. Oh, we got the A record. Okay. It should pass it. Add Bishop. Okay. Great. And then the last thing we'll do here, I'm running too tight on time. I did fly too close to the sun today, trying to add too much. That's okay. We'll go see if our GitHub actions failed or not. Let's check it out. Oh, that's from last Global Hack Week. That's the wrong repo. Games, actions. It looks like it may have failed. One of them worked, so we'll let's take a look and see if it's up. We'll see if this works or not. One important thing if you're going to host this yourself is to remember you need to update your Auth0 with the correct domains and everything like that as well. This does not look like it's loading or is up yet, which is A-OK, but we'll go ahead and get our submission ready for dev post. I do want to actually do. So regardless of where you got today, I would really appreciate if you followed along with me and actually submitted your project. So even if you didn't complete everything, if you lagged behind a little bit, I'm going to ask for everyone to join me in actually submitting their project on DevPost. And we'll see if we need to do the daily form as well. We might need to. Bam. Register for a future, follow DevPost, redeem your domain, yes. So let's do this form first, and then we'll do DevPost second. So what email did you register with Global Hack Week? Register with for Global Hack Week, I'm going to say Ryan at majorleaguehacking.com. I'm going to redeem my domain. Some challenges require a screenshot. I'm going to say I understand. And then I'm going to upload a screenshot of the domain that I registered. This is going to be my way of validating that. So I'll come back here, and I'm just going to take a screenshot of this page. Great. And then I will go ahead and grab that screenshot real quick. Screenshots folder. Let's see if we can grab it. Great. So I'm going to hit add file here. I'm going to browse. I'm going to go to this folder specifically, and here's our screenshot. So go ahead and hit submit on that. So that is one challenge completed for sure. And then our second one is going to be actually on DevPost. So we're going to click into Global Hack Week Games. And I'm realizing I did not link you all to the daily form. That's going to be that first form I did. And here's the dev post as well. So I'm going to start a project. I'm logged in on the MLH account, but I think that's totally fine. I am going to skip this step for managing the team. I'm going to call this GHW games like leaderboard or something like that. Elevator pitch. I tried to make a leaderboard for a web app where people could create new leaderboards and upload scores using Azure, GoDaddy Registry, MongoDB, and Auth0, and GitHub Actions too. Actions. Cool. We'll hit save and continue. All right. About the project, this really should be my elevator pitch because I'm going to cheat a little bit and grab that. We're going to just paste that in. Built with, we're going to say Python. Yeah, we're going to say Flask. We're going to say we used Azure. We're going to say GoDaddy Registry, maybe. Yep. We'll say MongoDB. We'll say Auth0. Cool. Anything else I'm forgetting here? Oh, GitHub, maybe. Give them a shout out as well. Awesome. And I'm realizing I'm not zoomed in, as always. We'll scroll down. Try it out. The demo link. Let's go ahead and paste our GDR domain here. Let's copy this. We'll do that. No project media, no video link. We'll save and continue. Awesome. Additional info. This is the one we want to do here. And in particular, we wanted to do set up a website is the challenge we were trying to complete here. So we're going to hit I understand. We're going to hit I understand again. And we're going to hit save and continue. And last one is just I accept the terms and conditions here and submit project. And we've done it with 10 minutes to spare there. We have a actual submission for Global Hack Week, not fully functional, but that's a-okay. We were able to try out a bunch of new technology. We registered a domain. I'm pretty happy with our results so far here. I'm going to spend a couple of minutes answering questions if anyone's got any last minute kind of lingering questions, and then I will hop off and I will, let's actually check the schedule before I say that, because I'll see who's up next here. Schedule. It looks like we've got Wikipedia races up next. So let me cheat a little bit. I don't know why I'm calling it cheating all of a sudden. I'm going to check the schedule and see who's actually hosting that. And we'll see. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you both so much. Hopefully a good introduction to like, I always try to like, I feel like I watch like YouTube tutorials and I see people like know precisely what they're supposed to be doing the entire time. And I find it a little disheartening. I'm like, I really enjoy watching people. That's going to sound weird. It's not that I enjoy watching people struggle. I just find it very humanizing to see that other people don't know the answer right away. I think is maybe the way I would frame it. It looks like JFK is going to be up next. John is going to be up next to host Wikipedia races. Let me grab him and message him. Yo, I'm on stream. Any particular time to hand it off to you? And let's pop back here. No worries at all. That's totally fine as well. If you couldn't get Python working, I think if I remember, you were on Mac, but I would make sure that you have Python installed correctly. And then I would use terminal instead of trying to use VS Code and see if you can just do, and actually I'll show you here. So I'm going to use command prompt really quickly as an example for this. This is just and I'll zoom that in as well. This is just a regular, command prompt. It's just in my default folder here, and I'm just going to run Python, and I can see that Python's, working here. And if I do exit to get out of here, there's an error with the latest Mac update with Python. I see. Another thing you can try, another tool I always recommend to folks I like quite a bit is Replit. So if we go to Replit here, Let's log in, maybe. Oh, I have no idea what account I made my Replit account with. Let's try Google. Do I have any REPLs on this account? I do, yeah. So yeah, I would use something like Replit as a alternative. And like I actually host a Discord bot on Replit. This guy right here, the totally non-anonymous Discord bot, is fully hosted on Replit for free. So yes. I find it hard to use GoDaddy and cloud services. Would you be taking another stream for them? I won't be doing another stream for them here, but if you're looking to, let me see if I can find it real quick. I don't think blog is the right URL. Well, maybe it is. This one, I think. So I wrote, and sorry, this is really zoomed out for you all at home. I'll link you to this. And this is another tutorial on, this walks through all the steps for Azure, GoDaddy Registry, setting up a custom domain. So there's a lot of the stuff that you're talking about is in this post here. And I'd recommend just going through this. And this links out to some resources and things that I've used in the past as well. Definitely a good spot to start if you're looking for more info though. Ooh, let me check if John said anything to us. Does not look like he did. All right. Let me open up a new window, and I'm just going to hang out with y'all for a second. There's going to be a mini event happening right after this, so I'm trying to see if I can elegantly hand you off to the next mini event. It does not look like the stream is ready yet, though. Any other last-minute questions from the crowd? We'll give it one more try here. Y'all did not do a good job reminding me to drink water. I'm looking over at my cup and filled with shame. It's still more than halfway full, and I did not make any progress on this seltzer either. So, and let's see. We'll give John until 4:55, so we'll give him another minute here to give us a reply. Otherwise, I'll end the stream, and y'all can rejoin in a couple of minutes. Hey, I'm really glad to hear this. This is exactly the type of feedback I would love to hear. And for what it's worth as well, if you have improvements as well, I'd be happy to hear those. But glad you enjoyed the stream. Beginner focus is really my objective here, and trying to like demystify some of coding, I think, or like demystify some of like the struggle. I think a lot of people expect or get intimidated by folks who just like know the answer for everything right away. And so glad to hear it was helpful for you. That is certainly the objective. All right, it does not look like we have any messages from our next streamer yet. So I am going to sign off here. If you have any questions about my workshop afterwards, I will do my best to answer them. There's going to be a lot of messages in Global Hack Week's chat channels, everything like that. So feel free to open up a ticket if you're trying to get in touch with me directly. You're also welcome to reach out to me on Twitter. Oh, wrong side. You can reach out to me down there as well, and I'll do my best to answer your question. You're more than welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn or anything like that if you'd like to. And I really appreciate everyone hanging out with me and going through here. If you have any questions, reach out, and we'll see you at the next stream. All right. Happy hacking, everyone.